Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel, and I decided, as long as I've cleaned up the review stage, I've got everything set up here, we might as well do something I've been putting off for a little bit, so I'm striking while the iron is cold and dead. But we got a new toy line on the market to talk about, and it's kind of fascinated me. So, Disney has decided to take a Korean series and do the Power Ranger thing by creating the Armorsaurs, which seems like a modern interpretation of the old Dino Riders toy line from the 90s. However, in this case, what we have here are something far more akin to the Power Rangers. So I'm going to be looking at one figure from each of these size classes, and we're going to start with the one that I think Transformer fans are going to like the most because they're literally transforming dinosaur robots. Not, they're robotic dinosaurs. They don't have a robot mode, but they do have a vehicle mode that you can clearly see here. So this is Cobalt. This is the main triceratops of the team. I was so tempted to make this entire thing based on Cobalt and the blue air quote Ranger. I haven't seen the series to know what they call themselves, but that one is named TJ. So it might have influenced me to pick this one out of all of them so far. But as you can see, he's got this really nice shade of not translucent, but like metallic blue that's absolutely beautiful. This is the kind of stuff I keep telling Hasbro, just use this to make transmetals and I'll be happy. Like, this is the kind of stuff we need a little bit more of. Looks really, really cool. Looks really, really nice. You got these big four wheels. Obviously, it's not a real vehicle, but you can see the cockpit up here. He's kind of a quasi-tank, kind of a off-road vehicle. Looks pretty neat for something that, just kind of like folded up a Triceratops to get. You can see the head there at the front, acting as something of a nose cone now. Got lots and lots of silver paint all the way across, showing detail. Look at how much detail is on, like, the actual, like, what will become, like, the frill and armor of the Triceratops mode. Yeah, they didn't skimp on anything here. It's so nice. Also, the tires, very good pinned free spinning tires. Very good. And rubberized wheels. These things have a really nice roll to them. It's very, 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 very nice. So, Transformer fans are going to care about these because they, obviously they transform. So we're going to take a look at how that actually works. These actually surprised me a little bit. So I was kind of worried they'd be like those VTech dinosaur transforming toys where you just kind of pull on a thing and the whole thing flips over. But no, we have things going on here, like actual engineering. You can hear like heavy snap ratchets for the transformation parts. Yeah, like that's already a little bit more than I expected. So check this out. We have slide joints here to get the hips in the right spot. These are on double hinges, so we'll get those folded like that. And then for the crown, I'm going to pop this open. That lets me flip the tail out. I just clipped my thumbnails. Oh, that was a mistake. And then check this out. Check this out. All of this, all that rotates forward. And you have a completely new cockpit there. There's the old one that we were looking at before. Whole new faux setup to get it in the spot that's correct for the show. And to connect the crown there, close that up, and that's the Triceratops. Now, articulation-wise, you're not going to get anything out of it, outside of just like, the little bits left over from the transformation. But that's a little bit more involved than I expected out of something like this. I expected just like a quick little auto change thing, but no, like, it's a nice little convenient and, frankly, in a little bit of clever actual transformation going on here. I'm actually rather impressed. And again, yeah, Cobalt looks absolutely awesome. The level of paint is insane for a toy this size. Whereas Transformers tries to get away with as little paint as possible. Like, it really looks like these guys are trying to put on just, like, the most impressive visual they can possibly put together. These guys rolled for about 16, 17 bucks. These are not all that expensive. for something that does seem to be very competently made and will make for a very good toy for a kid. Not too complex to transform, has great spinning wheels for rolling, and yeah, it looks really good. So I'm in favor of this one. This works pretty nicely. Now, to go with these figures, we obviously need to have like the equivalent of the Rangers. So our pilot figures are going to come in the form of 3 3/4-inch figures like this. We're switching to the T-Rex now because, you know, it's even if it's not Power Rangers, the Red Ranger's kind of the whole leader, key, main character, all that, etc., etc. So these are $10 at your local Target, and these are, again, surprisingly well done. Look how tiny the little paint apps are on this. I should have brought a good comparison. So for my Transformer fans, like, here is a, you know, if I get the dog hair off of it, here is your standard Cyber World figure. So it stands about 3 3/4 inches tall, though it is more tokusatsu vibes than anything. I don't know why Vega's mask is still here. Never mind that. But the point here is, yeah, this is pretty standard, like, small-scale action figure size-wise, and you can see just how much paint went on. Take a look at the little tiny lines of paint to get the details right. Like, just because it's small does not mean they cheaped out in the least. It's a very impressive job. We have ball joint on the head, plenty of range there. We have universal shoulders at this size. We have full elbow joint at this size. Like, I believe, yeah, it's a little tight, but yeah, you got forearm rotation as well. There's no waist joint, which is a little bit weird given the fact that everything else works so well. Ball joint at the hips. Thigh rotation is in here. Deep knee bend for 90 degrees of motion there. This is really articulated for its size. You know, like, there's core class Transformers at $10 that didn't get this much articulation in. I'm extremely impressed. Now, there's other impressive things about this. If we look at the backpack, for instance, we'll see his folded up sword. Go ahead and remove that, and the sword again is done with different layers of plastic, so it's not paint. It's not going to wear off on you. Here's the neat thing. I can actually extend the blade, and it's actually on like a stiff slide joint, which will click in and out twice. There we go. To extend, and then if that's not enough, I have the little blade. Oh my god, with no nails. Can I get this blade out? Can I get the blade out with no nails whatsoever? Can I push it through? Yeah, I'm gonna push it through. Oh, I didn't expect to get hung up on this. There we go. So yeah, the blade has a level of transformation even at this size, which is fascinating to me. So yeah, so again, like, really good for the size. And then there is the reason why he's $10. So, okay, so it's a pretty good figure for the size, paint and articulation wise. That's a cool trick the accessory does. However, that's not enough, right? So, to really get your value out of this, you have to go to the other accessories it comes with. Hang on. Okay. I want you to take a good look at this. Look at all of this. Look at all of this. So, packed in, they're hard to see because there's like this weird cardboard layering thing going on. But packed in with the figure is what I counted as almost 30 extra accessories, all on their own sprue. And this basically just compiles together a list. It's just a litany of options. You know, so, like, you know, I got things like this. Like, I've got blades that have pegs on the backside, so if I can add to his armor. I have little pieces like this that have sockets on all sides, so I can, like, multi-connect things. I've got armatures for extending. I've got extra blasters that he can use independently or as part of the arms set. Here's different armatures. You know, here's, you know, female to female connectors. You know, there's male to male connectors, like this one right here, or I can use this as kind of like a matrix core or gear of some kind. Like, there's so much here. There's so many options. I could do a video just showing you different ways of combining and just armoring up and weaponizing the character. It's a ridiculous amount of accessories for a $10 toy. Like, this is an entire play pattern all on its own, and you can see 2 spots on the chest. He's got spots underneath the arm, on the side of his legs, on the back of his legs. If I take off his backpack, he's got 3 ports there. He's got so many spots to start attaching these. And the instructions give you an idea of how to use them, but basically it just kind of leaves you to your own devices and just kind of invites you to figure out something for yourself. So if I come in here and just start armoring up the character like so, there we go. Put those where they go. Put, here, hang on. Let's see if I can get all this in. There we go. So I can boost up his armor with just those 2 parts. And we got all these parts I put together previously for wing section. So right there, like, I've already created a wing armor for him. And that's just a few parts here. I've got so many ports and parts and everything left over. This is an incredibly creative system. There is so much I could do with this. So yeah, I'm thrilled. I'm genuinely really impressed by this. This feels like this is such a simple gimmick to figure out that gives you so many options and so much play value. Every kid's armored up pilot is going to be so different from everybody else's. Yeah, it's simple gimmickry that just gives you like ways of playing, and I think it's something that Power Rangers just lost. Was they tried to get overly gimmicky. Even the new toys are overly gimmicky, whereas this is just doing things right. And that's not even the big toy. Let's get the big toy in here now. All right, it's officially T-Rex time. And yeah, this is much bigger, as you can see by how we've had to reframe for this one. So the first thing that makes me think of is, obviously, comparison to Jurassic Park. Now, I don't have a Jurassic Park T-Rex here, but comparing it to the one in the store, this is absolutely comparable size. Function, on the other hand, like, they're going for different things. The articulation on this one is not going to be what it is on a Jurassic Park T-Rex. However, the way this works is very gimmicky, and for the gimmicky T-Rexes, this is actually pretty much on par. You can see they did a ton on the paint. You can see the airbrushing of the light brown on the belly and on the top. You can see the different sections of black across the back, as well as down the legs and on the feet. You can see they did all the work to get everything painted correctly on the head. And again, for the paleontology experts out there, yes, we don't know exactly what they look like. It's all down to interpretation, but it's not a bad looking take on a T-Rex's color scheme, if you ask me. I think he looks pretty good. You have the tiny little arms, which do have the front and back motion, and you can change that, but the rest, not so much, because the rest works like a gimmicky Jurassic Park T-Rex. So, for instance, I can move his head left and right by adjusting his tail in the back. So that puppetry, that works, and that's something I've seen on a Jurassic Park T-Rex. Also, if I push it down, I will push the head down and cause sound effects. Now, it is a mix of roars, it's noises for like stomping through foliage or even armoring up. Obviously, the toy is just picking 10 sound effects at random, so it doesn't know if armor is attached to it or not to place appropriate sound effects. Yeah, it'll roar as long as I hold the tail down. Let me see if I can get a mechanical noise here. Okay, so yeah, so you can kind of hear like armor kind of forming up on him. Speaking of, we need to do that, don't we? Let's get some armor on this guy so we can really show you like how cool this thing ends up looking. So, the main bulk of the T-Rex armor is on this big spring hinge, so all I have to do is like push it open, Lay it down on the back where appropriate. Hang on. And then just let it close itself around. You have everything else that clips on. So I will admit the clips are a little bit distracting if you are like really hung up on the aesthetic of the dinosaur, because obviously, you know, it's a lot of extra holes in the plastic. But in service of the gimmick, you know, I've definitely seen worse. So go ahead and put the feet on here. Foot armor is like the trickiest because it's the clearance gets a little bit weird here, but it will eventually go on. And as far as I can tell, there's no difference between left and right, so you're not going to mix them up or anything. Here we go. Clip the tail armor on. Let's make sure there's 2 clips that have to go and make sure that's connected correctly. And then we can put the helmet on as well. That's going to form over... Hang on. Hang it. There we go. Let's make sure that's all in place and make sure everything is lined up correctly. There we go. Perfect. And then we're going to put the cockpit on, if we can keep that in frame. I don't know if we can. I am attempting. Got to make sure that clip is in first and then push the rear section down. And that's going to hold the clip that opens up the chest armor closed, so everything's going to stay nice and solid over the whole toy. And there you've got your armored up T-Rex, who I forget the name of offhand. However, it's a fun little armor up trick. Obviously, the aesthetic change is absolutely enormous. There's very little flesh of the T-Rex left. What I do like is that despite all the armor, all of the gimmickry still works. I can still manipulate the head. There's the stomping sound. Like that, like that. And then you can see again, the detail and the paint level that they went with is absolutely huge. Like, there's so much more than I expected on these guys. The black and the silver is all paint. You can see just, they went nuts, making sure everything was accounted for as screen accurate as they could get. Very, very impressive job. All the little details across the tail. Again, gorgeous shade of metallic red plastic. You can see the glittering to it, but it's not heavily swirled, so it's not worrying metallic. It's just a really, really nice looking T-Rex figure. And of course, if we want, obviously, like, we want to get the pilot in there as well, so open that up. In goes our hero, and we're all ready to go there. So, yeah, that's a ton. That's a ton. I mean, yes, it's a gigantic T-Rex figure. I guess Transformer for scale? I guess it's not a great scale, but you can see these guys are huge. You can see these guys are huge. And if you go to Target and they've got an end cap or something set up for them, yeah, like, it's hard to miss. These guys are gigantic. And I love that the packaging is very Transformers Cybertron. Like, you can tell they're putting everything they can into this to stand out as much as possible. And it's working. I've known people who picked up on this very, very quickly, especially after they saw all the parts that the pilot figures come with. Now, I mentioned the price point on everything else. The price point on the large-scale dinos with all the armor parts and the electronics and function and size very akin to a Jurassic Park toy, the same ilk, $45. Compared to Jurassic Park's Big T-Rex, which is $55, it works very much the same. I am stunned. Like, one, it really tells me just how much they pay for the license of Jurassic World in order to create those toys, but it also just, like, shocks me at how different the prices can be just from different people making it, and it makes me wonder if, you know, where does the difference come from? If it is a difference in the factory, a difference in the quality. Like, it doesn't feel like, I'll tell you this, like, the plastic quality on these guys, like, feels pretty good. Like, these don't feel particularly cheap. I like how they feel. So I'm really just wondering, is like Mattel just really just milking the license, just paying and just like upcharging the price because they can get away with it? I mean corporate America. I'm not shocked if it would. But these are playing fair, and these are putting out a surprisingly cool product. Like, I know I sound like I'm an ad. I am not being sponsored by these guys. I am not being sponsored by Armorsaurs. I'm just enamored, genuinely. Like, all of them do so much more than I expected them to do, whether it is the articulation and accessory count, the level of transformation, or just value for what you're getting. It's a really impressive toy line so far that I want to see keep going. We've got other pilots. Their dinos need to come out at some point. I would love to see them try to expand this line. Different armors, different transforming dinos. Like, don't stop here. I want to see what else this line does. So there you go. That's the overview of the toy line. I know it's hard to miss in Targets if you've been there recently, so that's basically the rundown, my opinion of them so far. Though to my knowledge, these guys that my audience would like the best have only been available on Amazon so far, so you can go there for it. But that's going to do it for me today. Hope you are now educated on a line that I'm sure some of you were at least somewhat curious on, especially the Power Ranger fans out there. I'm very impressed. And we'll leave it at that. So thank you all for watching. I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.